Did you know that Papua New Guinea, a country with just over 10 million people, speaks more than 840 languages? That's more than any other country on Earth. More than 11% of all known languages. Just one country. That fact alone should tell you how incredibly diverse our planet is. But what most people don't realize is that geography isn't just about maps or mountains. It's the hidden code behind how civilizations rise, why cities thrive, and even why some countries are shrinking fast, literally vanishing. So today, we're diving into 100 of the most surprising, mind-bending geography facts from around the world. And by the end, you'll see the Earth not just as a place you live, but as a giant, living system full of connection, contradictions, and mysteries most people never notice. Let's start with island. Most people know Java in Indonesia is the world's most populated island. But did you know the second place goes to Honshu in Japan, home to more than 102 million people? That's more than the entire population of California, Texas, and Florida combined. Now here's a twist. Indonesia, known as the largest island country on Earth, has about 7,500 islands. Sounds like a lot, right? But Sweden, believe it or not, has over 267,000 islands. It's not even close. Indonesia's total is just 6.5% of Sweden's count. Speaking of islands, over 730 million people live on them. That's about 9% of the entire global population. That's like every single person in the US and Mexico, Canada, all living on island. Ever wonder which country is the greenest? Suriname in South America is nearly covered in forest, over 97% of its land. But the country with the most forest in total, Russia, with about 3.1 million square miles of trees. That's enough forest to cover all of the lower 48 states. Twice. The world's biggest cities are all in Asia. Tokyo tops the list with over 37 million people, followed by Jakarta, Delhi, and Seoul. Each of these capital cities has more people than the entire population of Australia. The newest capital city? That's Juba in South Sudan, established in 2011. It's still home to just 500,000 people, making it one of the smallest capitals in the world. Asia is not just the biggest continent, it's also the most populated, with more than 4.7 billion people. That's 60% of everyone alive right now. It covers about 17 million square miles, nearly a third of Earth's total land area. South America, by comparison, is much smaller, just under 7 million square miles. Brazil alone makes up nearly half of its area and population. And Africa, the largest country on the continent, is Algeria, covering about 920,000 square miles, roughly the same size as Alaska and Texas combined. Now here's something that'll flip your expectation. The Philippine Sea is the largest sea on Earth, not the Caribbean, not the Mediterranean. The Philippine Sea covers more than 2.2 million square miles. That's larger than Argentina and Peru combined. Greenland is the world's largest island, excluding continent, at about 836,000 square miles. That's more than 3 times the size of California. Let's zoom in closer. Manhattan alone has more people than 44 entire countries, including places like Estonia and Fiji. One city borough, outpopulating dozens of nations. That's the power of urban density. Now, Nigeria is Africa's most populated country, with around 224 million people. But even with that number, it's still just 1/6 the size of India. Population. Panama is an isthmus, a narrow land bridge connecting North and South America. And when it comes to countries surrounded by land, there are 44 of them. The largest landlocked nation? Kazakhstan, covering more than 1 million square miles. Let's talk about the future. South Korea has the lowest fertility rate on the planet, just 0.68. That's not just low, it's catastrophic. To maintain a stable population, you need a rate of 2.1. South Korea's population is expected to shrink from 51 million today to just 36 million by the year 2070. The global average fertility rate is now around 2.41, but it's falling fast. In just a few decades, we'll hit a global population decline. While some countries are shrinking, others are exploding. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is expected to triple its population over the next 50 years, growing from 106 million to 335 million. Switzerland ranks highest on the Human Development Index with a near-perfect score of 0.967, and Iceland in life expectancy, education, and income. And despite its size, Singapore is the most densely populated island country, packing nearly 7,800 people per square mile into a space smaller than Rhode Island. Nordic countries, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway and Sweden, have a combined population of about 27 million. That's roughly the same as Texas, but their combined economy, about 1.8 trillion. In contrast, Madagascar has the same population, but a GDP of just $16 billion. Difference of over 100 times. The Maldives is Asia's smallest country, made up of around 1,000 coral islands. The biggest of them is barely 3 square miles. On the opposite end, Canada dominates North America, taking up 41% of the continent's landmass, just ahead of the US, which accounts for 39%. Sierra Leone is the 100th most populated country in the world, with about 8.5 million people. That's just over 1/10 of 1% of humanity, and the country with the longest official name, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, 46 characters, not exactly catchy. Meanwhile, 10 countries have the shortest name, like Chad, Oman, and Peru. And while we're talking extreme, the Caspian Sea is technically a lake. At 143,000 square miles, it's bigger than Germany. The largest true lake after that? Lake Superior. Everyone knows the Amazon is the largest rainforest. The Congo is second. But what's third? That would be the Australasian realm, stretching across northeastern Australia and into Papua New Guinea. And here's something insane. There's a volcano in Java, Indonesia that spews blue lava. It's called Kawah Ijen, and the lava glows blue because of high concentrations of sulfuric gas burning at extreme temperature. Yes, blue lava is a real thing. Did you know there are 4 countries with the word Guinea in their name? You've got Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, and Equatorial Guinea, all in Africa. And then there's Papua New Guinea, way over in Oceania. None of them are related, by the way. It's just one of those weird quirks in naming history. There's an index called the Fragile States Index. It ranks how effective a country's government is in maintaining control. Somalia currently ranks as the most fragile state, meaning it's the least stable government on Earth. On the flip side, Norway ranks as the most stable. The English Channel, also called the Dover Strait, is the busiest shipping lane in the world. Around 500 ships pass through it every single day. At its narrowest point, it's just about 20 miles wide, barely the distance from Manhattan to Newark and back. The Middle East is a complicated region, politically and culturally. It's made up of 16 countries and the Palestinian territory, with a combined population of 460 million. From 2015 to 2020, the country with the fastest population growth was Bahrain, growing by over 4.2% annually, mostly due to labor migration. Oman came next, but Niger grew fast too, and that's because of a high birth rate, not immigration. Here's a fun one. There are no countries on Earth that start with the letter W or X. There's Wales, but that's not a country on its own. It's part of the United Kingdom. Speaking of names, 11 countries have land in their name. Think Poland, Iceland, Finland, and the Solomon Islands. Even the United Kingdom can. Right now, the Democratic Republic of the Congo has around 106 million people, but by the year 2070, it's expected to have more than 330 million. Basically the same as the US today. That kind of growth is mind-blowing. The average elevation of a country is about 2,750 feet. Bhutan is the highest, averaging over 10,000 feet. The Maldives? Just 5 feet above sea level. It's quite literally sinking. Papua New Guinea is also the most linguistically diverse country in the world, with 840 different languages. That's more than the entire continent of Europe. For a country with just over 10 million people, that's absolutely wild. South America's smallest country is Suriname, about the size of West Virginia. On the other hand, Canada dominates North America with nearly 4 million square miles, more than 40% of the continent's landmass. At the time of recording, the 100th most populated country is Sierra Leone, with around 8.5 million people, just over 1/10 of 1% of Earth's total population. The country with the longest official name, that's the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. On the opposite end, 10 countries tie for the shortest name, like Chad, Peru, and Mali. No extra syllables needed. The Caspian Sea is technically a lake, and it's enormous. Over 143,000 square miles, larger than Germany. If we exclude it, then the biggest lake is Lake Superior, shared by the US and Canada. Beyond the Amazon and the Congo, the third largest rainforest on Earth is called the Australasian realm. It spreads across northeast Australia and into Papua New Guinea. And yeah, it's home to some of the rarest plant species on the planet. Back to Indonesia, specifically the island of Java. There's a volcano called Kawah Ijen that spews actual blue lava. It happens because of the extreme heat and sulfur-rich gas. At night, the lava looks like glowing neon river pouring from the earth. Seriously, go look it up later. There are a few naming patterns you might not expect. For example, there are 11 countries that include the word land in their name, like Iceland, Thailand, and Switzerland. It's such a common suffix that you probably don't even notice it anymore. Then there's the population projections that seem almost too extreme to be true. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is expected to have a population nearly identical to the United States by 2070. That's not speculation, it's what the data says. When it comes to average elevation, countries are wildly different. Bhutan sits at the top of the list, averaging over 10,000 feet above sea level. The Maldives, meanwhile, barely breaks 5 feet. A small storm surge could put large parts of it underwater. If elevation shocks you, wait until you hear this. Lake Baikal in Russia is the deepest lake on the planet, diving down over 5,300 feet. That's deeper than Mount Whitney is tall. It's like flipping a mountain upside down and sinking it into the earth. Brazil is the most biodiverse country in the world. It's not even close. It scores 0.78 on the Global Biodiversity Index. For comparison, the US scores around 0.61. That might not sound like a big difference, but in an ecosystem term, it's massive. And let's not forget that Papua New Guinea still leads the world in language diversity. Over 11% of all languages spoken on Earth are from one single country. China has more than 100 cities with populations over 1 million. 11 of those have over 10 million people each. If those 11 cities formed a country, they'd rank as the 8th most populated nation on the planet. Urban density is also where Singapore shines. The country squeezes nearly 8,000 people into each square mile, about the same as Manhattan. Speaking of cities and movement, the United States has the most airports in the world, more than 15,000. Brazil comes in second with just 5,000, and then Australia with about 2,200. That level of infrastructure is unmatched. But here's a surprise. The country with the most maritime borders is France, thanks to its many overseas territory. It borders 53 different maritime zones. The UK comes second, followed by the US. The sunniest city on Earth isn't where you think. It's Yuma, Arizona, clocking in over 4,000 hours of sunshine a year. That's nearly double what Seattle gets. And when it rains, the record for most rainfall in a single 24-hour period goes to Reunion Island, which once got nearly 72 inches in a single day. That's about 3 years' worth of rain in Los Angeles, all at once. If you've made it this far, you're clearly the kind of person who loves learning new things about the world. So why not subscribe and join thousands of others who are turning their curiosity into knowledge? It's free, and it helps us bring you more content like this every single week. The US and Canada share the world's longest border, about 5,500 miles. That's longer than the distance from New York to Hawaii and back. At the other extreme, Bahrain has the shortest land border, just 0.12 miles with Saudi Arabia. And yes, there are countries with no rivers. In fact, 20 of them. Saudi Arabia is the biggest of the bunch. Imagine an entire country the size of Texas with no permanent rivers. There are 9 countries on Earth that possess nuclear weapons. 3 more used to: Kazakhstan, South Africa, and Ukraine. And 6 others host them on behalf of allied powers, usually the US. If you're wondering how that power translates into stability, remember what we said earlier. The most fragile government isn't in a war zone, it's in Somalia. The strongest? Norway. Here's something totally insane. Between 2011 and 2013, China used more cement than the United States did in the entire 20th century. We're talking 6.5 billion tons, enough to build a concrete sidewalk from Earth to the moon and back. And when it comes to economic scale, the US still leads in raw GDP. But in purchasing power parity, China takes the crown. around 35 trillion US dollars worth. That means your dollar goes further in China, even if incomes are technically lower. Tuvalu is a tiny Pacific island nation with a pretty unusual income source. They own the .tv domain, which, is perfect for streaming. Twitch and other platforms pay royalties to Tuvalu, netting the country over $7 million per year, about 8% of their total government revenue. Palau has the world's highest cost-to-coastline ratio, more than 3,000 miles of coast per square mile of land. That's what happens when your country is made of little islands. On the opposite end, the Democratic Republic of the Congo has a single tiny sliver of coastline. There are only 3 true enclave countries in the world, countries entirely surrounded by just one other country. Those are Vatican City and San Marino, both inside Italy, and Lesotho, completely surrounded by South Africa. Countries like Eswatini don't count because they border more than one nation. And then there are 44 landlocked countries, nations with no direct access to the sea. The biggest of them? Kazakhstan, covering over 1 million square miles, larger than any US state. By far. It's hard to believe, but some countries don't have a single permanent natural river. That includes places like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. Instead, they rely on underground aquifers, desalination, and imported water. When you live in a desert, you get creative. The United States is often seen as the fast food capital of the world, but it's not the most obese country. That title belongs to Tonga, where over 77% of the population is classified as obese. Diet, genetics, and cultural factors all play a role, but it still surprises most people. Did you know some countries have weapons on their national flags? 10 countries in total, but only one features a modern firearm, Mozambique, which includes an AK-47 right on the flag. That's not exactly subtle. Angel Falls in Venezuela is the tallest waterfall on Earth. It stands at 3,212 feet, about 20% taller than the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. The sheer drop is so massive that water often turns into mist before it hits the ground. The US has more airports than any other country, over 15,800. That's more than Brazil, China, and Russia combined. It says a lot about just how mobile and spread out the country is. When it comes to biodiversity, Brazil is king. Indonesia and China follow, but it's Brazil's rainforest, coastline, and climate that make it home to more species than anywhere else on Earth. Its biodiversity index score? An unbeatable 0.78. Switzerland ranks number 1 for the most powerful passport, not just because of the number of countries it can access visa-free, but also due to its neutrality, security, and global reputation. The UAE technically allows access to the most countries, 179, but the Swiss passport offers more than just open doors. The largest building in the world by floor area isn't in China or the US. Well, actually, it is. It's Tesla's Gigafactory in Texas. The building spans nearly 10 million square feet. That's nearly twice the size of Vatican City. By now, your mental map of the world has probably been turned upside down. From blue lava to island nation with 800 languages, geography isn't just about where things are. It's about how we live, how we grow, and how we survive. The surprising truth is that geography isn't static, it's alive. And it's shaping your life right now, whether you notice it or not. If this journey around the planet made you think twice about how much there still is to learn, then hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment and tell us which fact blew your mind the most. We've got more deep dives coming up, so stay curious and we'll see you in the next one.